Hello and welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. My name is Erin Muffletto and I'm here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, next door to the Roundhouse at Rio Chama. We have a special guest, Representative Bill McCamley. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
So tell us a little bit about who Bill McCamley is. So where are you from?
I'm from Las Cruces.
Okay.
I sell solar panels for a living. My dad was in the Army. I was actually born in Korea.
Oh.
We moved there when he retired. I went to New Mexico State, went back east for grad school, and then came back and have been living there ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved in politics?
I was in the student government at New Mexico State, and there was a lady who wanted to put filters on all of the, well, excuse me, I wasn't. I was actually working in the computer labs at New Mexico State.
Okay.
And there was a lady who wanted to put filters on all of the computers for kiddie porn, which is something that obviously we all want to do. The problem was the filters that they wanted to put in would have filtered out different words. So at the time, for instance, whitehouse.com was a porn site.
Oh.
But if you put a filter on there, whitehouse.gov is the president's site.
Right.
And these things are basically designed for, you know, fifth graders and fourth graders. And so I went to the student government where this discussion was happening, ended up running for student body senator, and then was student government president, and then kept doing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It becomes addicting.
It's not even addicting. It's the fact that for some people you find that you like public policy and that you like making things that are going to be better for your community. I think people volunteer in all sorts of different ways. Some people read to kids every night. Some people go pick up trash on the side of the road. For me, I feel like this is something that I try to be good at, and making my community a better place is something that I value. So yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about maybe some of the top priorities for your constituents.
Well, most folks care about jobs.
Okay.
And how do we go about creating an environment here in the state that is going to be better for making sure that people can find decent employment, where they're not making a poverty wage, where they can go and actually make enough money where you can kind of live the American dream. You know, you buy a house, you save for your kids' education, all those things. And so that's a big deal. A lot of folks, probably the most emotional issue that I found on the campaign trail last year was the testing issue with the state. People are fed up, they're angry, and we recently had a couple of thousand kids just in Las Cruces walk out of school for the first day of standardized testing. So that's a huge deal.
Test, right?
That's the PARCC test. And then between that and the end of year assessments that are going to be going on, a lot of students take 2, sometimes almost 3 months completely of testing.
Wow.
And that's a huge issue for a lot of folks. For me, obviously, water is a huge issue. And pretty much everyone in New Mexico, it should be an issue because we live in a desert. And so trying to address those in real substantive ways is a real priority for me. This is obviously very hard because someone gets hurt every time you do something with water. But the problem is if we don't come together and get everyone to invest in solutions, we're going to end up like California where it's a disaster.
Right.
So that's very important.
And water doesn't seem like a controversial issue. It seems like something that everyone should agree on.
There's an old saying in New Mexico, whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting. So you see that a lot around here.
All right. And then you have another top priority this session, right?
Yeah, I'm the guy that introduced the marijuana legalization bill.
Right, and not a lot of people are familiar with it. They might just see Denver.
Well, Colorado in general, yeah. Colorado, Washington, and now Alaska and Oregon, and I believe Washington, D.C., it's legal to purchase and use marijuana recreationally. It's taxed and regulated just like alcohol. And that's really the goal here. How do we come up with a new public policy that's going to be much more intelligent and that really reflects the fact that marijuana, for a lot of cases, is a lot safer than alcohol?
Right.
And the biggest deal for me is we're taking these tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars that is currently in the black market. This money goes to cartels in Mexico. Yeah. They use them to fund gangs in Central America. And a lot of people.
In Mexico, we have gangs, right?
We do, but if you remember last summer, all those folks that were coming up, those mothers and kids that were coming up from Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador were fleeing the violence that we cause because we're funding it. So for me, it's a way to bring that money into legitimate economic means so that folks can actually do it as a business. We can get the tax revenue off it. If you looked in Colorado, I believe it's...
That's what I was going to say. They've made a lot of money off of it.
I believe it's $50 or $60 million, if I remember correctly, throughout the last year. And so as we're looking for ways of doing things productively in our society, is marijuana that much more harmful than alcohol? And it's actually safer in most ways.
Right.
So why are we treating it differently when we could be making it a legitimate business, when we could be getting the tax money. And if you look in the 20s, when alcohol was made illegal, it's really funny. More people actually drank alcohol at the end of Prohibition than started it.
Yeah.
And furthermore, the murder rate in the United States doubled during Prohibition. And then when Prohibition was ended, it came back down to what it was before Prohibition was in place. So the policy was a complete failure. And I believe that our prohibition of marijuana, just like it was with alcohol, is also a failure. And so that's really what we're going for here.
So I have to ask then, what's the opposition? Why are they so against it?
I think there's a lot of 1950s reefer madness. Marijuana is going to do all this stuff. It's going to make you go crazy. It's going to. There's an argument that it's a gateway drug, and that's really not true. The biggest gateway drugs are tobacco and alcohol, and those are legal. Most kids who start doing drugs start drinking early and start smoking cigarettes. So if we're really going to look at the gateway drug argument, you got to make those illegal, but that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do we tax and regulate marijuana the same way as alcohol? And that's really what you see with Colorado. That's really what you see with Washington, with these other states. And it's a more intelligent public policy. And I think as these states, as with same-sex marriage, as more and more states do this, people are going to see that an asteroid doesn't come down and blow the state up, and it actually probably works. And therefore, I think it's going to change people's opinions, and we can move forward with an intelligent discussion.
Right. Well, we look forward to seeing what happens with that. And thank you for all of your hard work. I know that's a tough bill, and you work really hard on that and all your other legislative issues. So
yes,
thank you for that.
Appreciate it.
So thank you for being here this morning. That is it for today. So we're wrapping up in Santa Fe, New Mexico with Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Erin Muffletto, and we'll see you next time.